welcome to another episode of the Goats Podcast, where I am always joined by Michael and Sebek.
Hello.
My name is Vinny, and we have a pretty special episode today for you all. If you see, this is our very first Goats Top 3.
Oh, shit, yeah.
Where instead of the usual format, where we pit two GOAT contenders together whilst an impartial judge then decides who takes home the crown, each of us have actually come up...
Impartial.
Each of us actually come up...
Yeah, right. The statistics lie. You two. Oh, I think my best friend from childhood's done a great job. Oh, does it?
You need
oh,
to pick... No, we need to pick better picks next time, Sebek, right? We've
been through the numbers. You always try your hardest with me, and you always pick a meme when you go against Vinny. I've looked at the numbers.
Mate, don't get all stats bomb on me, mate.
Right, hang on. I'm trying to explain what the episode's about.
Sorry.
So you guys keep fucking interrupting me.
Sorry.
Vinny, explain the format, please.
Thank you, Sebek. So yeah, instead of the usual format, now all three of us have come up with 2 picks individually, totaling to 6 overall. And then what we're going to do at the end, after we've said all our picks, is that we're going to have a little debate, keep that in, and we're going to decide the top 3 of those 6 picks. Sounds good?
I think it sounds great. I think it's a great idea. I think it's exactly what we needed.
Yeah, I think it's never been done before.
Never been done before.
I think yet again, we are the premier podcast of innovation and new ideas, huh?
We're the premiere.
Do you know what?
It's like Americans, they always say premiere instead of premiere for some reason, even though they're different words.
Oh, fuck. I thought I was getting it wrong then. No, it is premiere.
It is premiere.
Thank God for that.
do you know what's weird about Americans? They do that thing where they just say stuff like a bit wrong. Like, it's like they'll just say, like, the Premier League. And it's like,
yeah.
Premiere is a different word. It has an E on the end.
Yeah.
But they'll say, like, they won't say, like, West Ham. They'll say, like, West Ham. Like, it's like, it's like you're just getting it like
Birmingham.
They'll say like the right.
He's fucking Birmingham.
They'll say like even the right noises, but just with like slightly the wrong cadence. They'll be like, "We're going to West Ham."
I know, and it really annoys me because when you select a language, it says like English, British, English, American. It should just say English, British, in brackets, correct, and then English, wrong. What one do you want? Because it's the same fucking language. There's no American English. You're just saying English, wrong.
I mean,
sorry to all of our American listeners.
Yeah, right. Sorry for the 50%
sorry for that.
listeners who are all American.
Patrons.
Can I just say that I disagree with that statement? And just to provide devil's advocate, you could argue that significantly more people speak American English than speak British English, so maybe we're in the wrong. Anyway, moving on.
Tomato.
Anyway, before we get into the actual episode, I'm just going to say, if you like our little podcast and would like to support us, you can follow us on our Instagram account. That is at @the_goats_pod. And you can even, if you're so inclined, give us a little cheeky 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. And if you really think we're worthy of it, we also have a Patreon. So if you want to waste your money, you know where to go. But anyways, how are the two of you
About
doing?
to buy my 7th yacht. Thank you very much. As you can see, I live in absolute mansion over here.
Even in the basement of your 6th yacht, yeah, I could see.
You're a fucking workshop, mate.
But how are we doing, lads? How are we doing? Any interesting stories?
Not too bad.
I basically went LARPing last weekend. I went to a Peaky Blinders event where everyone dresses up as Peaky Blinders.
Oh, I saw that on your Instagram story. How was that?
Really good laugh. It was fantastic. I mean, it is quite odd. It is like because it's at the Black Country Museum. It's a living museum where they've moved actual shops down and brick by brick replaced them all. So, like for instance,
the Peaky Blinders event.
Yeah. No. It already exists. The Black Country Museum is like a long-standing thing.
Right.
But it's like one of those like living museums, and like for instance, the chemist is the actual chemist that my grandmother worked in as a child. Like how mental is that? The church that is there is brick by brick rebuilt. Is the church that my grandfather and my grandmother got married in. So it's quite a strange one, and it's also very strange because obviously it all looks very period accurate, and I'd say 99% of the people there are all dressed, I mean, somewhat period accurate clothing. So it is quite bizarre. Like it is a bit of like a Like it is genuinely quite like. Without meaning to get like too deep, the first time I went, I remember being like slightly taken aback by the fact that like I was like, Jesus, like not many people have seen a sight like that, unless you're on like a film set in like 100 years. Like everyone's wearing all the stuff and like dressed to the part, and it's bizarre, but it's really good fun.
It's cool.
Maybe you guys should come next year.
Well, the only thing I don't like about it is the fact that you can go to that, and that's considered really cool because, you know, it's Peaky Blinders, and Peaky Blinders is cool. But if I went to, like, LARP's Lord of the Rings and dressed up with 1,000 Gandalfs
I'd
to
join
New Zealand,
you on that as well, don't you worry.
You would, but we get called... well, you would, but we get called fucking nerds. Everyone would fucking ruin us on
nerds.
Twitter.
Hell yeah.
I know, but...
Nerd
like,
power.
They batter us. Do you know what I mean? But like, it's Peaky Blinders, so it's like well cool and that. Like, can't they just both be cool? Do you know what I'm saying?
I agree.
I think both are uncool.
I think they're both equally uncool, but somehow Peaky Blinders has managed to like, because it's Birmingham and everyone's a bit scared.
That's what I mean. Like, LARPing as Peaky Blinders would get featured on Lad Bible, and they'd be like, all these fucking sick geezers. Well, that's a bit cockney. I don't know what they say like up there. Like, they'd be like, all these lot, like, Peaky Blinders, look at how cool this is. And yet they'd be like, oh, look at all these fucking nerds dressed up as Gandalf at the same time. It's like, nah. Gandalf would have the Peaky Blinders in a one-on-one.
Do you know what? I've long since thought it would be really funny to tell up to Peaky Blinders, like, as Darth Maul. I just be like, what? We're all doing fancy dress.
One of the best
That's so good.
Like, that would be so
good.
That'd be great. That'd be great.
Like,
I'd come as Gollum.
Maybe we'll do that next year. We all go, but we go as like
Gollum.
You can go as Gollum.
Yeah,
you should go as like, I don't know, General Grievous, like just like fucking. Or like, you see those like anime conventions. I'd love it to just be like, or like Comic-Con, it's just like 1,000 Peaky Blinders, Darth Maul, Gollum, and then like
it's one guy with massive Goku hair.
Family Guy.
like one of those like 16-foot Space Marine costumes that's like animatronic, just like lurching or something.
Like a demon woman.
Yeah,
like massive tits, and it's just a hairy bloke. Like, oh, I love.
I'd still bang.
Oh, how have you been, Vinny?
Good. I don't think there's anything to report on for me. I'm sure there is, but I always forget whenever it comes to this point of the show, to be honest.
I'm just really excited to like talk about what we're talking about. I was almost tempted to be like, let's not talk about what we did. I just want to talk about guitars.
Yeah, I'm very, very
I'm excited to talk about that as well.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Let's get into them.
Yeah, let's go.
I'm loving my shouts, so.
Sure, right. Well, there's nothing more radical than ripping your top off, doing a knee slide, and shredding on an electric guitar out of time to the other band members, and way louder than them as well. They really love that.
Oh, yeah.
Well, the humble guitar, it's known as the instrument of the people. Probably because it's really easy to carry around. You can take it to a park and play Wonderwall to your heart's content. It's quite easy.
I thought
to
the
pick up as
recorder
well.
was the. I thought the recorder was the instrument of the people.
That's the instrument of the child, and then the harmonica is the instrument of the homeless.
Yeah,
I've got a harmonica.
Well,
do you want to know a very unsurprising fact, Seb?
You've tried beatbox harmonica?
Yeah, when I was like 15, I got a harmonica, so I spent like months just trying to beatbox play the harmonica.
That's so sad. That's like one of the saddest things I've ever heard.
I got really good at it.
No, I bet you did.
Yeah, because every like can be like a.
I can only imagine how hideous that sounds. Like, I don't really like either of those things. I don't like the harmonica. I don't like beatboxing.
I don't have it.
If you started like blowing billows of like vape cloud through the harmonica, that'd be perfect.
It's a smoke machine.
Yeah.
That would be fantastic.
Get ready for the drop.
Or do like rip a fat bong through a can of Monster Energy and then blow it through the harmonica like
green smoke from the
that's
horrific
the ultimate.
chemicals.
That's the ultimate.
All those B vitamins.
That'd be so good. Anyway, Vinny, carry on.
But anyway, the guitar, instrument of the people, mainstay in popular music for I don't know, since the 40s probably at this point. But anyway.
Nearly 100 years.
Nearly. But the question on everyone's lips tonight, who is the greatest, or some of the greatest guitarists of all time? Well, we've got some ideas, and hopefully at the end we can all agree on Michael's not being in the top 3. So without further ado, I think we should get into it. And as I've opened, I think I'll let one of you two go first.
I'd like to have a go, if that's all right. Now, do we want to? And like, this is interesting because we're doing this for the first time. I like the idea that the audience gets to hear this bit. Do we want to do both of our picks like one after the other and just say it, or do we want to like?
Nah. I was thinking just like what you morks me, you mork me, or something like that.
Okay, my script doesn't really work like that, but we'll give it a go. Okay. So we're fucking free vibing. So
I'll do a loose timer as well, just so
we're guitar soloing.
Well, before we even get going, I just thought, this isn't even like really fully in my script. I just thought I'd like to talk about some like honourable mentions. I think like we're all gonna probably have to do that because it's a massive genre. But like, I haven't got an idea. There's some bands I really enjoy, but I wouldn't necessarily call them the GOAT. Like, I really like the band Royal Blood. I really like Joe Dennis from Royal Blood. I like big noise. I'm like a really big fan of that. Just like big noise that hits really hard. Not necessarily like heavy metal, but like they're just that like really like kind of almost bassy, like
heavy rock.
Yeah, I really like that.
Yeah,
big power chords, drop D.
Yeah, like big power chords that sort of hits you in the gut, kind of like ooh. And for a similar but slightly different vibe, big fan of Arctic Monkeys. I know it's a bit of a meme, but I really like AM. And there's specifically 2 riffs on the album AM.
Caught me wanking.
Exactly, no. I know. It is a meme, and he should probably catch him wanking in the computer room. But there's the riffs in Are You Mine and Arabella, I think, are bang. And there's a little solo-y, squiffy bit of flair at the end of the second chorus riff of Are You Mine that it's at like 2 minutes 19. I even wrote it down. It does something to my insides. I remember the first time I heard it and I was like, what? And it kind of works in stereo. So it goes like, dung, 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 and it like goes all around and then it hits you right in the face. And it's like, that's cool. Fucking really like that. And I like that like simple but done well. That's kind of like my vibe with guitar. I'm not dissing anyone who does all the like, but I just like simple, crisp, done well. Right. Now, if you're going to talk about simple and done well, my first thought, and I think probably Vinny, I'm sure you might have gone here. Mork, not dissing, but I don't know if this is your vibe as much. But you're going to look at Cream, in my opinion, the first ever supergroup.
Love Cream.
Obviously, if you're going to talk about guitarists, like if you're going to talk about guitar riffs and you're going to talk about like the greatest guitarists of all time, you're going to see a lot of Clapton and a lot of Cream in that list. Sunshine of Your Love, Smoke on the Water, we all know them. And they were groundbreaking. People hadn't done that before. White people hadn't done that. Smoke on the Water.
That's not Cream.
That's Cream, isn't it? Oh, that's Deep Purple.
I was going to say though, those are the songs that you're not allowed to play in guitar shops, aren't they?
But
what's that one
Stairway
song you are not?
Stairway to Heaven's
one of them. Stairway to Heaven. You're not allowed to play them in guitar shops. Yeah,
exactly. But not Smoke on the Water. Wrong one. That was a bit of a slip of the tongue.
That is the one you can't play though. If you go into a guitar shop, like, can I try that like Ibanez? And you pick up, it will just take it off you and be like, no, you can't. Fuck off.
But that said, the fact that I even slipped my tongue in that direction shows that you got to think about like Deep Purple as well. That's like a hell of a. Yeah, I know it sounded a bit like I was licking a vagina, but like you've got to think about like Deep Purple and stuff like that. Like, they're amazing, but I do think, and it might be sacrilege to say this, but I think there's someone who did that simple but well better than Eric Clapton, and I think that for me, Jimmy Page, the guitarist of what I consider to be probably the best band ever, Led Zeppelin.
Bold take.
I will go into this another day, I'm sure, but I think if you had to think about a band who has like, it's like if you had to think about a football team who had the best player in the world in every position, Led Zeppelin are kind of that, but for bands. They have the best. They have like the best guitarist, the best vocalist, the best bass player, and the best drummer. In my opinion, I think Robert Plant fucking sings really well. I'm not musically
not Ed Sheeran though.
Knowledgeable. Yeah, he's not Ed Sheeran.
Who is?
What's that like? Lonely Mountain song. But anyway, and the thing about liking Led Zeppelin is it's a bit like, and I try to think of a film that made sense, but I actually think it's different for everyone. But everyone has that one film where everyone, for me, it was Pulp Fiction.
I was going to say Pulp Fiction, yeah.
You have to watch this film. You have to watch this film. You have to watch it. And you're like, oh, it can't be that good. It's going to be shit. And then you watch it and it's really good. And you're like, oh my God, this actually might be one of the best films I've ever seen. It might be the best film I've seen. I can't believe it. Like,
you can't stop thinking about it for weeks on weeks.
And you're like,
and then you're all telling everybody, you have to watch this film. I just watched this film and it's so good. That was like me when I first watched Step Brothers, like, oh, fucking Facebook out there.
But this is the thing, it's different for everyone. You know, some people go highbrow, some people go lowbrow. That's fine. But, you know, I think that for me is Led Zeppelin. Like, I remember being like, you know, my dad's a bit of an old, like, he was into rock and roll and doing all that sort of stuff back in the day. And he would always talk about how Led Zeppelin were incredible, and I'd be like, whatever, they'll be fine, whatever. I like Eminem and fucking Busted, and then you listen, nothing. But then you listen to like Led Zeppelin for the first time, and you're like, oh Jesus Christ, this is fucking insane. And I think a big part of that is Jimmy Page, who is responsible for, I would say, in my opinion, at least 4 of the top 10 greatest guitarists of all time. I'd say Kashmir, Here's Years Gone, The Immigrant Song, and A Whole Lot of Love are second to none.
How do they go? Not heard any of them. Oh yeah. Is that the Formula One song?
No,
that's the Chain by Fleetwood Mac. Also a good song. The Immigrant Song is like
Shrek 2.
Yeah, the one off Shrek.
Shrek 3, yeah.
Shrek 3, mate. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, that's all right.
Kashmir, I can never do it. Kashmir is one of those like ones that you wouldn't think was Led Zeppelin, but is.
Right.
Isn't Kashmir that bum bada badum bum bada badum?
No, that's Immigrant Song.
Sorry, sorry.
Kashmir. Let me.
Yeah, you're right. Actually, Kashmir's also got a really like. It's one of those songs that's used in like half of all trailers from my childhood. For example,
right?
It goes jung jung jugga jung 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 jugga jung 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 yeah, and what was the other one I said?
Iconic.
Tears Years Gone. I think is incredible. I'm not very good at like remembering them.
Is that from House of the Holy?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, that's like. I'm sorry to butt in, but like, yeah, I don't know what it is. I really like Led Zeppelin, but for some reason, and I really like you know, Cream, Beatles, you know, Jimi Hendrix and all that. Like, I love all that sort of music, but for some reason, only Houses of the Holy is the only record by Led Zeppelin that I actually really like. For some reason, I can listen to it and be like, this sounds good, but I just won't choose to ever listen to it ever again. But other than for some reason, House of Holy gets me. I don't know why. It's so strange. So that's.
I mean, yeah. But this is the thing. So my technical understanding of guitar is not that in depth. But my understanding is that Jimmy Page was very technically adept. But he achieved what he did by doing things simply but very well. He could do all the noodly, but he would do that sparingly, interspersed with just very well practiced playing.
He's a blues guitarist at heart, really.
Yes, and he was innovative actually in his use of effects pedals and layering, which is why I think it's one of those things that like people say, but it's obviously bollocks. People are like, "Oh, Led Zeppelin not that good live," but they are obviously very good live. But he used a lot of effects in the studio and layering that at the time couldn't be recreated as faithfully on stage live.
Right.
And alone, this is really impressive. But I think the thing for me that just puts Jimmy Page above the rest is the way he can transition from some of the most elegant and beautiful and technical guitar playing you've ever heard into some of the like hardest, dirtiest riffs you've ever heard. And I just think, like, you know, at this point, I will finish by bringing up the elephant in the room of Led Zeppelin, Stairway to Heaven, a song which everyone says is the best, and everyone says you have to listen to it. It's the best rock song ever made, blah, blah, blah. And it is incredible. You know, you start out and it sounds like you're being...
There's a lady sure all the glitters turns to gold, and she's buying a stairway to heaven. It's like really folky. It's like a 7-minute like folk rock banger kind of thing, and it like progresses through all these different sort of parts of it. It's like a very theatrical song.
But so yeah, the way it starts out, you feel like you're being enchanted by some kind of elven queen playing the harp. And every note and every little flare is just perfect, and it's beautiful, and it slowly builds, and as it builds, it gets slightly less plucky, and there's slightly more reverb, and then it hits. It's like 5 minutes and 55 seconds in, this huge solo just comes in, and it is just like, whoa! It like blows your mind. It like, well, the first time I heard it, I was like, oh fucking hell! Like, this is a bit much. Like, I just never heard something that built like that, and I just think, you know, for me, had never experienced something like that. And I think listening to Led Zeppelin, for me, has given me more of those, like, experiences.
Wow moments,
like, whoa, I've not heard someone do that before, than any other band. And I think a big part of that is a big part of that is Jimmy Page. Like, he birthed... Jimmy Fallon, mate. He birthed into existence what I believe to be probably one of the best rock songs ever made, and also some of the tens of the best guitar riffs ever played. And you know, I think to do that, you have to be a goat. You have to be in the conversation. I just think you have to be in the conversation.
Top 6, top 3. Yeah,
top 3. You've got to be in there. For me, I just think that's a brainer. That's
fair enough. Yeah.
Yeah. Nice. I'm trying to look up the name of it, but the guitar shop in Exeter, I want to say they might have... Andertons, right?
Manson's.
That's Andertons is an online like guitar shop. Manson's.
I don't know if Manson's is closed.
Well, there was talk of it around COVID that it might have been shut down, but I think someone might have come in and given it money or something.
I think they're still, because I got my guitar from there. I think they're still. Yeah.
But what is it again?
Manson's.
Sorry, yeah, I bought like all my guitars from there. Manson's actually supply Jimmy Page's guitars. They make Jimmy Page's guitars, and I remember when I
they're a big guitar shop.
When I brought my Telecaster in there, because Jimmy Page plays the Telecaster, and by the way, big brownie points for me on that one. I actually saw it, like his like, it's like the wooden one with like the kind of the dragon sort of symbol on it. It's really, really cool. And I remember being like, wow, that's sick. And then later on I found out, that's probably literally the exact guitar that Jimmy Page was like, would play. Like, it's insane. Yeah.
But do you know who else they provide guitars for?
Who?
Muse.
Yeah.
Muse are fine. Don't get like no. I'm not having this.
I don't mind Muse. They're okay. Muse are fine.
Oh, I thought you were going to shit on Muse.
Right. My media teacher at A level in college would go on every single day about how she taught 2 of the Muse lads. She'd be like, oh, well, you lot think you're disruptive. Well, when I taught Muse, they were throwing pencils at the ceiling. They didn't give a fuck because they were doing music. Blah, blah. Oh, stop talking. I remember when Muse were talking. I was like, shut the fuck up about Muse.
Lame claim to fame.
Yeah.
So, they were supposed to be incredible live, weren't they, Muse? I don't know if they do live.
I think they're pretty good. Yeah, I think they're right. They get memed on quite a lot. People hate them, but I like them. They're not exactly Coldplay. But
they are. They have a Coldplay-esque energy. Like, I think people kind of group them in with that same like.
They're a bit less poppy Coldplay, I'd say. A bit more rocky Coldplay.
They're definitely less poppy. They're definitely rocky, but
I think
people group them in with softcore. Yeah, there's great tunes on
that album with like Hysteria on it, and like with the guy and he's looking up, and there's all the shadows on the floor, and the bodies are going over. I can't remember. It's a fucking
that's a good album.
Yeah. Black, supermassive black hole.
Let's just
Incredible.
Muse,
Yeah, they've got good tunes.
Muse is all right.
Yeah, Muse is all right.
We declared
There
on
we
the
go.
show,
Muse,
the
stamp.
mediumest of all time, Muse. Decent band. Yeah, no, Jimmy Page, that's a fantastic shout. It's pretty... standard would have been a nasty way to put it, but it's a slightly more obvious shout, I guess.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely.
It's definitely one of those things you'd see on like the top 20 greatest guitarists of all time.
Oh, yeah.
Like you're always starting to see Jimmy Page on that, and for good reason. Like you said,
Maybe he deserves to be on there.
He was never like. I mean, again, I haven't listened to that much Led Zeppelin, which is a bit of a crime as a guitarist, but from what like I have heard like a lot, he would just make these very memorable hooks and riffs, and they were just kind of blues riffs and hooks and stuff, but although they were very simplistic and kind of grounded in that blues style, the way they were produced, the way they were specifically played and put together was just so catchy and captivating and got stuck in your head. And yeah, he's definitely is, I think, one of the greats for that, for sure. But will he be in the top 3?
Find out.
You'll have to find out. I reckon, Mork, do you want to go next?
Yeah, I'm very happy to go next.
Sure.
Yeah, that was a good shout. And I want to say, different music, different strokes for different folks. And, I've dabbled in the guitar, and I have a very strong affiliation to guitarists as well, but for a slightly different version of guitarists. A slightly different version of playing the guitar is kind of my taste. And I think, you do have those classic, like you said, standard, like just play really soft tunes. And it can be a little bit like, dun, 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 within the fucking song.
If you are suggesting,
but it's a bit A to D.
That is criminal. That is criminal.
But listen, you're not hearing me out, fam. You're not hearing me out. But sometimes I like my guitar playing a little bit more like.
What sounded like
kind of like A to D. Then back to A, then to like X. Do you know what I mean? A bit more. Wow, crazy.
Are you done with quoting Peep Show? Is that your script? Just quoting Peep Show?
Yeah. So basically, I went a little bit left field with this one.
Mm-hmm.
I thought, what's the most impressive? Like, holy fuck, the guitar playing on that song is the best I've ever heard. Like in my life. And it was a pretty obvious answer.
Yeah?
If you played Guitar Hero 3 and beat the game, then you've probably played a cheeky little number called Through the Fire and Flames. You guys are like freezing ever so slightly.
Yeah,
Am I freezing as well?
You're roboting a bit, mate.
Oh, sorry.
Hang on. Should be okay.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, it's gone back now.
Yeah, cool. Right, yeah, sorry. Say that last like 2 sentences again.
Okay, so the answer was pretty obvious. If you've played Guitar Hero 3 and beaten the game, then you've probably played a cheeky little number called Through the Fire and Flames by the band Dragon Force. And if you've not heard some of the guitar on that track, then editor, please insert a little snippet here, because it's fucking crazy. It's guitar playing only the devil himself could match. Hearing that was actually like, what the fuck am I listening to? This cannot be real. This isn't real. This isn't a real person actually playing the guitar. And the geezer who plays that must be pretty fucking good. If it's so good, it's actually unbelievable. It's not just good. It's like, oh wow, this is some great guitar playing. It's like, that's not real. He must be fucking amazing at playing the guitar.
Isn't that?
Well, yeah, he is. There are two. But there are. So let's just. Well, yes, he is. He's a beast, and I'm nominating him for this top 3. And his name is Herman Lee. Now, there are actually 2 lead guitarists in the band, but I'm just going to put Herman forward because from what I can tell, researching and everything else, there's kind of more written about him. He might be the better guitarist of the 2, and I've got to just pick one, so I'll just pick him. They're probably both as good as each other, but he can do it all. So
the guy who might be the better lead guitarist in the band, where there's 2 lead guitarists, is one of the best guitarists of all time.
Well, yeah, then. Well, I could just pick both of them and say both of these guys because they're both absolutely insane.
Just to clarify, the guy who might be best guitarist.
He's the better one in my opinion.
In the band Dragon Force.
What?
The greatest guitarist of all time.
He's in the top 3 best guitarists of all time. Why are you laughing?
It's still debated if he's the top. He's only in the top 2 of his own band.
It's literally that quote from, I think it was John Lennon, where they were like, they asked him like, "Do you think Ringo Starr is the greatest drummer in the world?" And he's like, "He's not the greatest drummer in the Beatles."
This is unbelievable what you're doing. This is absolutely unbelievable what you're saying.
Sorry.
He might be.
I had to pick one. I couldn't pick 2 people. I couldn't pick 2 people. They're probably both as good as each other. Which is not like, oh, they're both as good as each other. I mean, they're shit. If they're both as good as each other, they're probably both the fucking best in the whole world, right? So shut up.
On his grave, Herman, whatever his name was,
Herman
maybe the best guitarist in Dragon Force.
He's probably the best guitarist.
Not rhythm is like you don't count rhythm.
Yeah, with that. I think I can do rhythm too. You can do everything.
He's probably the greatest guitarist in Dragon Force.
I say probably because I'm not like. There is no definitive. No one's coming out and being like, "You're the best guitarist in Dragon Force. You're better than your mate who's shit." So I just have to pick one. Why are you getting? It's the only way you can beat me is with like semantics and like.
No,
words,
we're all gonna win today, except maybe you. We can just carry on.
This guy is insane. Listen, right?
Okay, I'm listening.
Herman Lee is a fucking beast. And like I said, I did play the guitar for a few years and I can do all the basics. I can do a few scales, but I haven't really got that much of a clue about the crazy shit. So his Wikipedia page didn't really make that much sense to me. So I couldn't like boil it down into like my own words. So I'm just going to read this small bit word for word.
Okay.
Because I don't understand it. And you won't either because it's fucking just mad skills. His playing style consists of fast descending and ascending legato and staccato licks. Exotic scale runs, making extensive use of the harmonic minor and Paragian dominant scale, extreme use of his whammy bar, quick full ascending and descending, sweep picking arpeggios, alternate picking, and 2-handed tapping on the higher frets, as well as incorporating many other shred guitar style techniques.
What, like playing?
Now, if you can do all that shit, then you are mental, right? You are nuts guitar player. If you can do staccato, legato, scale run, up and down, crazy ass shit, right? You must be sick at just playing the guitar. This is what I'm talking about. I don't know.
Then how do you know it's good?
Because when I listen to him playing, I'm like, what is that thing I've never seen before? There you go. It's writing down for me.
For some reason, the word whammy bar, for some reason the word whammy bar is just funny. And it always reminds me. Have you seen, the Weird Al parody of Smells Like Teen Spirit, where he has the guitar that like folds up?
Oh yeah.
It always makes me think of that because it's like this really technical thing.
It's just
and it's like, and then the guy just goes, wow, 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 wow. Like it's just like it's so like untechnical. It's just like
cool.
I remember.
Well, no, because.
I remember on Guitar Hero 3, like you would just get like bonus points if you just whammied everything you could. Like, so you would just be like, all right, there's a chord, you just like play the chord and you go wah 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 wah, even though like it doesn't necessarily sound good in the song, but you get more points. So I'm doing it.
Yeah. But when Herman Lee whammies, he's like fucking, he's like spinning it around 360, doing crazy ass shit with it. And like, here's the thing, right? All that stuff. We're talking about the top guitarists. Right? The best guitarists. Mm-hmm. If you can do all that crazy shit, you are an insane guitarist. Like, the devil can't even shred as hard as this guy can. And he does all of this. He does all of this while being left-handed but plays the guitar right hand.
Oh, like Jimi Hendrix.
And if you watch him play live, quite often he'll play with, rather than his hand on the bottom of the fretboard and sliding up and down the neck, he puts his hand on the top and has this claw and just goes playing this crazy shit. And this is what I mean with Herman Lee, right? Yes, you can play these and I mean that in a joke, but it's like, simple bluesy riffs that sound really nice. But this is like the technical. These are the skills. These are like you million years of practice. Some of these guitarists could not do like the on the cold winter morning, blah, 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 like all this crazy fucking shredding shit. Do you know what I mean? Like, yeah, it's absolutely insane what this guy can do.
Have you? Sorry, Karen. Sorry.
He is just a pure skillful guitar player who can do all this mad stuff. And in a guitar 1v1 on Rust battle, I feel like Herman Lee would be extremely hard to beat. If you had a guitar off, if you had the Battle of the Guitars, if you put up where his name was against Herman Lee and said, right, solo shred it, I think Herman Lee would 1v1 almost anyone in the world with his crazy fucking kind of moves. And that might make you one of the best guitarists of all time, because you're just, in terms of just playing the instrument as a skillful technical piece of equipment, that might make you the best.
I have a couple questions.
Yeah, I'm saying.
I have a couple questions.
I'm not finished yet, but yeah, go on.
Have you heard of Tim Henson from
Didn't he do the Muppet?
Polyphobia, the band Polyphobia?
No.
I think if you really like technical, super fast, ridiculous, what the fuck's happening guitar, I think he might actually be the GOAT. Like, if you just look up Tim Henson or the dude from Polyphobia, or listen to like Goats from Polyphobia, links to the podcast, like you will be, your jaw will actually be on the floor. It's disgusting what you can do.
He might be better than this guy.
And my other question is, have you heard any Dragon Force songs other than Through the Fire and the Flames?
Yeah, I have a whole album on my phone.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I have their first album from 2003. I can't remember what it's called, but it's on there. And I'll listen to it. Every now and again, one will come on, and sometimes I can't quite tell the difference between the songs, because it will start off different and the song will be different. And then all of a sudden it'll just go, and I'm like, I can't remember what this one is, but it fucking rocks. Like, they go all like 7 minutes long, just.
Right, I've got a question.
Yeah. Okay.
Have you finished? Because I have got a question.
No, I'm not finished.
He's not finished.
You finish yourself off.
Shall I finish up my whole thing? It's not very long.
Finish off, yeah.
Finish yourself off.
So it's extremely hard to beat. And the thing is he just fucking loves it as well. Like, I've been watching videos of him today playing live, and he just plays with like a smile. He doesn't give a shit. Like, he'll play like live in like a guitar shop, and he'll like fuck up a little bit and just laugh, and then just like do like another little crazy lick to like make up for it. He'll like go drop a note and just go like, blah, and just like be funny, just do kind of crazy shit. And he'll like 360 his guitar around himself, and it's just like memorizing. It's just mesmerizing the like skill that is on display when he picks up the guitar. And in fact, Dragon Force, when their first album was released, critics and everyone around the guitar scene thought that the guitar playing on that record and on the album was fake. They were like, it absolutely has to be studio trickery. It can't be. They didn't do that for real. They can't do that live. That's just studio. They can only do it in the studio. They're not going to play Through the Fire and Flames live. Is genuinely what they thought.
People. That's why.
No, they knew it's two people because they know who's on the fucking album. They know who it is, but they just thought they can't do that crazy shit.
Why do they have 6 guitarists? What the fuck?
No, but they just thought they can't do that crazy stuff. And then when the band performed live, people actually went to examine it. Like, people from Total Guitar Magazine went to examine the guitar playing and watch every single note. And they were just blown away that it was actually real. And they were actually shredding that fucking hard. And like, this guy is a god. Like, fair enough. They were just like, fair. He's fucking insane. Like, the critics thought that it was genuinely impossible and it was real. That is mental that you're that good at the instrument. So I think just for like pure skill, pure shred, like setting fire to the fucking fretboard, the song doesn't have to sound good. Like, you might fucking hate the songs and might hate that style. That's fair enough. Don't really care. For just playing the instrument like the craziest way, Herman Lee just has to be up there, has to be considered. Like, 1v1 anyone, he would murk them. And that's what being like a top guitarist is about. Pure fucking skill. So Herman Lee is my first nomination.
Here's my question. Who would you say is the best rapper of
I was
going to
say this as well.
Because I would say Eminem's best rap songs are not that one where he goes,
but I don't think that's a very good comparison, because rap stands for rhythm and poetry.
Very apt comparison.
No, it's not. You're saying that because you don't like my pick. It's not. It's not. No, because because this is about playing an instrument. And I think the skill to be able to play an instrument in
Rapping
that way
is playing an instrument.
But it's rhythm and poetry. I agree. If you can't hear the poetry,
every music is rhythm, and any music with lyrics is rhythm and poetry. What are you talking about?
This is where it comes down to: is like, do you see it as like an art or a science? Because like, obviously, here's the thing, I'm one of those people who looks at these great guitarists. I'm a big idolizer. I'm a big I love to put people on a pedestal. I don't know why. But so in my head, I'm like, I reckon Jimmy Page could probably fucking pull it off. Gun to his head, he's fucking sick. He's probably the best guitarist ever. He'd fucking like the rest of them, and he can do stuff. He does do stuff like that. He does do these big solos. They're not Dragon Force. They're not Through the Fire and Flames. They're not but he can do it. But my question is it comes down to, do you see it as a skill or an art? And it comes down to it's like painting as well. Those pictures you see on Instagram where someone just does a hyper realistic drawing of fucking Cara Delevingne. That's not art. For me, that's not art. That's basically a photocopy. And it's different but the same.
But it's going
because I could type really quickly. Right, I could type. This is again I could type a story much more quickly if I didn't give a shit about what it meant. But if I wanted to write a good story, I would type a bit and I'd pause and I'd.
But he's making me. It's not random. So
But
I would say this.
You said that different Dragon Force songs come on, and by the middle you can't remember which one it is.
That's because I'm a fucking idiot and I'm just listening to them casually. But I think if you got two guitarists and went right, play this. So you did can you play a C chord? Yes. Can you then play C and a D? Can you then play this? And you just slowly built it up on what your skill level is. Okay. Herman Lee would get to a point with most guitarists in the world where he'd be like, okay, you did that riff, I'll do that riff. And then he'd be like, can you do this? And the guy would be like, nope. And I'm like, okay, you can't play the instrument as well as me because I can play this crazy shit. Maybe I'm just saying that's kind of my
problem with Herman Lee is that yes, he might have mastered these techniques of sweep picking and stuff like that, tapping, which allows you to go super 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 fast. But it's so what? 100,000, 100 or 200 different speed metal guitarists can also do that, and so what? Lots of metal guitarists can play ridiculously fast things. That doesn't mean they're the greatest guitarists of all time. And it's almost like the trendsetters, the people who first did those things, or the people who actually, I don't know, put more, like Sebek saying, put more poetic
soul into it.
Soul, soul. For example, there is a Sade song I really like, and it has some guitar in it that's really, really simple, extremely simple guitar. Really, he's only playing 3 or 4 different notes. It's really simple, but the way the guitarist is playing it is with it's unbelievable amounts of just soul. That it just I actually absolutely love the guitar in it just because of that, but it's really simplistic. I could play it, but I don't know if I could play it how he's
in that way.
That's the thing. Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, you're right. A lot of shred metal guitarists can do that, but I only know this guy, so.
but no. What I will,
and he might be one of the best. I don't know. He might be the best in the world.
No, I think Dragon Force, from my very little knowledge, are probably they've
got a big name. They're
the mainstream peak of shred metal. But what I will say is, I just watched Through the Fire and Flames. I just skipped straight to the big solo at the end, and I have to say, blew my fucking mind. I mean, it is insane.
Exactly, it is insane. If you sat him in a room, even with Jimi Hendrix, and he just did lick for lick, and Herman Lee was like, "All right, Jimmy, can you fucking do this?" He'd probably nope.
Yeah, no, I don't think
could he play with soul, for example?
Well, this is just why I'm submitting him for his. Everyone's got skills in different. Not everyone, as we've established, can do everything. If there was a guitarist out there who could fucking and
what I love about the music video,
they'd be the best ever.
What I love about the music,
he's got a different skill to go up there.
What I love about the music video to Through the Fire and Flames is throughout the whole music video, there's just a camera on his guitar. Like there's like a little box at the bottom
in the corner.
It just shows what he's doing. Like
yeah, because he's just doing crazy shit and he's playing it over the top and two-handed, and he's playing it he's left-handed. He's playing it the wrong way around.
I hate it when I listen to. I like watch, say, like Crownrobin or like a band I like watching live, like on YouTube or whatever, and the cameraman's like focusing on their face. I'm just like, bro, put that camera down. I want to see what they're doing with their fingers. I want to see like what crazy shit they're going on. Like,
100%. But there you go. Herman Lee, he's going forward based on pure skill, like 1v1 me on Rust.
He's a
that's it. 1v1 me on Rust.
Technical skill. I have to
battle anybody.
Yeah. Like. I just watched a bit where he went like this. Like
he does a two-hand.
I don't know what that means. I don't know how that.
You don't know that's possible.
That's
that's insane.
That's tapping. That's basically what Eddie Van Halen. He didn't make up, but he popularized.
He was a pioneer of
Yeah.
But there we go. So that's Herman Lee from Dragon Force.
Cool. Does anyone want to take me into my pick?
Yeah, it's you, Vinny. Vinny, now you've heard from the two dumbasses.
Hey, speak for yourself.
Now you've heard, we're doing the fucking song and hit us with something in the middle. Something actually good.
Okay. I'll try my best. So yeah, when people think of the greatest guitarist of all time, it's hard to get away from the genres of blues, metal, and especially rock. And this is often reflected in greatest guitarists of all time lists, where it is just blues and rock guitarists and the occasional metal guitarist. That's why for my first pick, I'd like to sort of broaden our spectrum a little bit. And I'm going to pick a guitarist from one of my favorite genres, jazz. That's right. We're going jazzy.
I thought you were going to say techno. But...
techno guitar. Let's fucking go. Now, there are definitely a shitload to pick from the world of jazz. I mean, jazz has been around for over 100 years now at this point. It's like mad. There's too many people. But despite all of that, it's actually quite insane because almost everyone with an opinion worth listening to within jazz or within jazz guitar or what have you, they all agree on the exact same thing, and that is that Wes Montgomery is king of jazz guitar. So who is this jazz cat then? Well, John Leslie Montgomery, or Wes Montgomery for short, was born in the 1920s in Indiana of the USA.
That was ages ago.
It was a while ago, yeah. He was a quiet kid, born into a large family. And in 1935, his older brother dropped out of school to sell coal and ice. It was a different time. And saved up enough money. Coal and ice, what the fuck? And saved up enough money to buy young Wes.
Make ice.
I think back in those days, people didn't just have freezers because this was like the 30s. Like, I don't know if they were as big. I don't know.
Yeah, they'd go around. Have you not seen that? You used to go around with a massive block of ice and they'd like chip it off and give it.
Yeah,
it was because Roswell hadn't happened yet. That's why.
Roswell hadn't happened. But
that's what my dad used to tell me, who obviously was nuts, but he used to tell me that like microwaves and stuff like this only got invented after Roswell. And he was like, look, Roswell crashed in like 76 or whatever. The first microwaves were in 78. And I was like, right, okay.
It's a wonder you came out so normal, isn't it?
I know.
You're quite normal.
He's not. Anyway. But yeah, his older brother dropped out of school and saved up enough money to actually buy young Wes his first ever instrument, a small 4-string tenor guitar. Now, despite later dismissing the guitar's usefulness, it would spark his lifelong passion for the instrument. Now, years later, he would get married and find work as a welder. Then, at a dance with his wife, he heard a Charlie Christian record for the very first time and was so blown away by it, the next day he bought himself his own proper 6-string guitar. Well, for the next almost year, he would spend literally any and all free time he had trying to imitate Charlie Christian's guitar playing. And although he never received any formal training or teaching or whatever, and he couldn't even read sheet music whatsoever, by the age of 20, he was good enough at imitating Charlie Christian's guitar that he was playing in clubs and people were liking his music. They were like, this is great. This is great. He literally
just taught himself off just like copying, basically.
Just listening to Charlie Christian records and just copying it. And he found himself in a couple bands in this time as well. So the next few years, he would actually spend touring with these bands. And when he was able, he would be perfecting his craft anytime he had any free time. In fact, due to the fact that he had to keep his day job down, because that was where 99% of the income was coming out, he actually was only able to practice his guitar playing at night. And now, to not wake up his neighbors or his kids who are sleeping at night, he would play with his thumb, like a really soft, like thumb plucking technique.
Right. And so it wouldn't like ding, ding.
Yeah, he wouldn't like pluck with like, a pick or anything like that.
Yeah, or his nail or something,
He would like down strum with his thumb and maybe like a little bit with his fingers.
To mute it.
Yeah, like a very muted, soft
like a palm mute.
It.
Like, yeah.
And this would go on to become his iconic guitar playing sound. Mixing the complicated jazz harmonies with his smooth playing style would turn heads all over the jazz world and would even sort of become a precursor to what would become smooth jazz years later. After about 15 odd years of being a musician, he was actually finally had the opportunity to become his very own lead performer in his own band. And this was called the Wes Montgomery Trio. And in 1960, he recorded the legendary jazz record, The Incredible Jazz Guitar of Wes Montgomery, featuring his most popular song to date, In Your Own Sweet Way, probably the most, or maybe the second most sampled song in all of lo-fi hip-hop, and I'm not joking about that.
Really?
It's unbelievable.
Have we talked about this song before?
I don't think so.
I think we might have. Yeah, I think we might have. Talked about it being like sampled by everything you showed us, maybe. Some old jazz song you showed us and we're like, this song's been sampled, and we're like,
that was the drum and bass. That was that drum and bass thing.
Amen.
Oh, that was that drum and bass thing, yeah.
Oh yeah, that was the Amen Brother break. Yeah, that's like sampled in fucking everything. That's the most sampled thing of all time. But in terms of like lo-fi hip hop, like honestly, the amount of times I've heard In Your Own Sweet Way sampled, it's unreal. So I've told you about his innovative thumb plucking technique, but there's got to be more to him to be crowned as basically the greatest jazz guitarist of all time. Well, the other thing he's super notable for is doing what's called block chords. Now, I'm going to really try and not be super technical because it could get fucking boring, and also some of the stuff I don't even understand because it's high-tech jazz shit. And I'm just a lowly blues guitarist. But I'm going to try and sort of explain it as simply as I can.
Dumb it down for us.
Yeah.
Fucking shit munchers. Yeah.
So usually when you have a melody in a song, it's basically the melody's played sort of one or two notes at a time. Like do, 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 do. It's like one note or maybe two notes playing at a time each time.
Mm-hmm.
With block chords, with a melody, you're essentially playing that melody with three or more notes at the same time for each of those sort of like notes within the melody. So
what would it sound like? Give us a do for that one.
I don't know, it's like blah, 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 blah.
Okay, yeah.
Why it's fucking
I'm gonna
insane.
get it, yeah.
Why it's fucking insane is you're literally it's almost like you're playing like three or four melodies at the exact same time because you're playing like three or four or even five notes at the same time, and you're playing it as fast as you would a melody. Like do 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 do. But think of that. But you're playing a completely different chord for every single one of those dudes, and they're a completely different chord. Just think about how fucking unreal that is. And
that's pretty crazy.
In Your Own Sweet Way, it's a super slow song. It's like 60 beats
just listening to it, yeah.
Yeah, very, very slow.
Really, get your record on.
The amount of times I've tried to learn that song, but I get like like 5 chords into it, like 5 like melody chords, block chords into it, and I'm like, I can't do this. And the amount of times I try, and I'm like, I could maybe do it one day, and I try again, I'm like, nope. 10 minutes in, I'm like, fucking, that is ridiculous. How the fuck did he do that? And especially without any like teaching or anything, like the understanding to do those, like, as well as like just the crazy harmonies happening at the same time, and mix that with his super soft playing style, just it was like the perfect balance. It kind of like reduces the harsh and dissonance from these jazz harmonies, but they're still like really interesting harmonies and like things going on. But because it's played so softly, it's very easy to kind of, I'd say, become infatuated with it. And he, with all of that combined, it honestly makes him one of the most unique sounding guitarists I've ever heard, and I've never heard anyone sound anything like him. Like, even in jazz, like, he is completely unique, and he definitely goated within jazz, and I think that's why he deserves to be one of the greatest guitarists, full stop, of all time.
Wow,
I like that. See,
without any prior knowledge, I can't really dispute your claim.
There's actually 4 guitarists, and like they're all playing one at a time.
I can't be like what you said, like be like, yeah, well, everyone could fucking do that.
Everyone could fucking play the pentatonic scale at 200 beats per minute.
Yeah.
I think. See, it's funny. I was talking to Alex at work, who I will mention. Like, he helped me quite a lot with my second pick, but he was talking about jazz guitarists, saying how it's so much more difficult because not only are people like Wes Montgomery doing this like multi-chord within a chord thing that I don't really understand, right, but he was talking about how when you're in any other sort of session, if you had a bunch of like rockers in a room and one of them just started playing like a rocky drum beat and another guy started playing like a rocky bass beat, another guy could come in the guitar and they all know roughly where it's going because it's power chords, it's a very specific BPM, it's very specific. You know that if they play... And I don't know what notes follow what notes, so I can't say this that accurately, but he was saying how you know that if someone plays this note, they're probably going to play this note afterwards because that's kind of how rock goes.
Scales go, yeah.
With jazz, someone can play one thing and then they can go somewhere completely different, and everyone has to be ready to follow that. And
it's improvised, isn't it?
Yeah, and especially on a guitar, like the idea that someone could be playing on a completely different scale or a completely different part of the fucking musical, what's it called, like octave thingy, spectrum, what's it called, like the musical scale?
Octave?
Key and shit.
Yeah, they can like change key, they can change everything at a moment's notice.
Tonal shift,
you have, tonal, that's what I'm thinking, like tonal shift. They can even change like tempo and all this stuff. You have to be so much more
in tune with everyone around you as well, yeah.
And like I think that's really impressive because like for me, I'm one of those funny people that like, again, shout out to Alex for work, he's getting a lot of shout outs this episode, but until he was one of those people, I just thought jazz was like, you know, sometimes when you'll go on like you'll be, you know, we can all be honest, I sometimes listen to Radio 2, occasionally Radio 3, all right, fucking sue me.
I don't never listen to the radio ever.
Get him.
But sometimes they'll be like,
you can't all be honest.
It's the jazz show, and it will just sound like Jamie Cullen fucking headbutting a piano. Like it's got no backbone, and I find that there's something about it I cannot listen to.
It's like
I call it like backboneless jazz. Like it's just that like when it's just like dong 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 dong. Like there's nothing to it, and I'm just like I feel like I'm having a panic.
It's not very
but there is a type of jazz I like.
Yeah.
But like there is a type of jazz I like, and I do like that like flowing, it's all working together, like when you hear a group like meshing as one, and I find that really impressive. Like really, really impressive.
The thing about jazz is that it's almost like going in at a Marvel film at like Endgame, and you've like, who the fuck are all these people? What are their relationships to each other? And they don't explain anything, and you just have to have watched everything beforehand to get it. It's the exact same thing with jazz, like, because the jazz scene was this very, you know, tight-knit circle of like mostly black American musicians who obviously in a time where there was so much more racism, and it was so like more socially acceptable to just be like, yeah, I'm better than you because I'm white or whatever. So these people, they were very, very tight-knit and very protective of their own music and their culture. So they ended up producing this very introspective and different and unique music, and it sort of just evolved from that to that to that, and now you have people playing fucking 300 beats per minute, and they're changing the key every 5 seconds, and you're like, what the fuck is happening? But it's like, unless you have all that prior knowledge of like, okay, big band jazz, swing jazz, and that goes into like, you know, like a bit of modal jazz, you know, bebop, post bop, that goes to free jazz, and unless you have all that like building block beforehand, it's like, what the it's being thrown in the deep end. What's going on? This is too much. But that's also like why it's happened, why jazz is so disgusting now.
The thing is as well with jazz is like, it is a naturally, what's the word? I mean this in the most positive way. It's contrarian. Like, it was designed, it broke all the rules. And so it can be hard to find like purchase on what you're listening to. And I think part of that contrarianness is you can listen to something that from the outside sounds like elevator music. And then when you actually look at it, they're trying really hard, and it's almost like it's not a joke, but it's like part of it. It's like, look how hard we can try, and it still sounds so simple. And like, again, that's like all part of the like layers of. It's more than just a music thing. It's got like societal layers to it, and like it's about saying something with what you're doing, and you know, it is incredible. And I've really learned like a respect for that I really didn't have until quite recently. I just thought it was all shit.
Honestly, you should listen to some Wes Montgomery, even just like in your own sweet way.
I did have a listen.
It's a lot more easy listening than like fucking bebop jazz, which is like, you know, it's like just nuts.
Yeah, that's not
cocaine
jazz.
Could Wes Montgomery do fucking double-handed upside down tapping?
No, he didn't need to. That's the thing. He did his own thing, and that's why he's goated.
Okay.
So
cool.
well, that leads
cool.
me on.
I like that.
Sorry,
go on. You were going to say.
I fucking love Wes Montgomery.
Well, yeah. So that leads me on. My second one's a bit shorter. Thank fuck.
Do you mind if I quickly just piss like as fast as the speed metal guitarist plays out of tune way too loud?
Doesn't play out of tune way too
plays
loud.
out of time, out of tune.
Fuck off.
His pants are down. Everyone's laughing. BRB.
No, so seriously, how good was that for the Fire and Flames video?
It's impressive. It's really impressive.
Come on, it's goated. That's top 3 material. If you can do that on that, how are you not one of the best?
I don't know. Again, though, I don't know.
It's like football, right? You can be Xavi your whole life and just pass consistently 99% accuracy your whole life. Or you can miss a few passes, but score absolute fucking screamers 1 in 3. Who's better? Who's going to be remembered more fondly?
The thing. But that's
Who's
the thing.
boss?
I would say Xavi. Like, that's the thing. But
it's boring. It doesn't go anywhere.
But what my thing is, I think the internet is right. This is a conversation we should be having with Vinny, but I think the internet has ruined that, because I've seen a million fucking guys on Reddit who can do that. A million. And none of them have any emotion to it. It's just.
But he does have emotion, because he wrote the Dragon Force. Dragon Force have a massive following.
But what do you mean wrote? That's what I mean. Like, what does it mean?
He wrote that music. That's the same. It's the same every time. He wrote every note to that song, didn't he? It's premeditated.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
It's not an improvised solo. He's not just shredding. He's like, I want to do this, then this, then this, then this, then this, and they'll do it at 1,000,000 miles an hour.
I don't know. What I find difficult is like, if I would be so much more impressed if he did like a Jimmy Page and like started out slow and built up, and it became this.
A lot of songs start slower,
and he could prove like that, like delicate, and then he could have bursts and just like
they do that. Listen to some of the song. They have like low moments where a girl like, dun, 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 and you're like, I'm like, I could play this. Dun, 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 just goes crazy again. You're like, fuck, I can't learn that.
I don't know. This is the thing. It seems difficult.
I'd love to hear him play like a nice, simple kicking back tune. But yeah, go into your pick though. Now that we're here, though.
So yeah, look. Interestingly, I kind of went down a bit of a Vinny route with my second pick, which is that
you're conspiring against me.
No, not at all.
Just because I like kicking tunes.
I wanted to go for something that was equally enchanting as I believe Jimmy Page can be, but for different reasons, and also very innovative, much like Wes Montgomery. But in a genre of music and a genre particularly of guitar playing that I think is given quite a not hard rap, but it's definitely like put in the corner. It's like, yeah, you just do that. Which is for me is like folk music. Like folk music, people just think of like playing like one quite easy.
No one cares about folk music.
I went down to the fair and I saw a fair maiden, and it's like, oh yeah, great. But I love folk music, but I think that's the kind of idea that it has. But
really?
I think so.
I maybe because I'm coming at it from a guitarist perspective, but I always found folk music just like really tricky and difficult, and I want to do that, but I don't know how.
Well, let me tell you for why. Probably because of one of folk's great innovators. Why? What's wrong with you?
It's just a bit,
Don't do the same joke again. Don't rip up the shit yet again.
Oh God, you're so offensive. Look,
I just live at a million miles an hour, mate.
Yeah, that's not a good thing.
He's got a 50-foot long guitar. He just goes. This is incredible.
The best guitars ever.
The geezer from Fantastic Four.
It's silly. This is what I'm saying. Like, I feel like Dragon Force is silly.
No, he wanted to be silly.
It is silly.
Have you seen the 19-string guitar? That thing's fucking sick.
This is what I mean. It's silly. It's nonsense.
It's like the neck is that fat, and you have to play it two-handed like this.
It's almost like parody. Anyway, fuck's that. I had a really good introduction there, and then
Sorry.
We just pissed all over it. But no, the reason you probably find getting into folk so hard is because of Michael. Can you just fuck off for 5 minutes?
He's in a very naughty mood today, isn't he?
I know. He's in a contrarian.
He's a little imp.
Stir the pot. Yeah, he's
little scamp.
Yeah. Look, fucking Christ. It's Joni Mitchell, all right? It's just Joni Mitchell. I think Joni Mitchell's good.
Okay.
So, look, Joni Mitchell, I don't know if you know Joni Mitchell, Michael. She's like one of those people who you probably switch off when you accidentally turn on Radio 2 and then die.
Oh, God. If I accidentally turn on the radio, do you know what? The other day, I accidentally turned on the radio. I just crashed my car on purpose. I was like, fuck listening to the radio. Boom.
Didn't just turn the radio off.
If you do accidentally, while you're flicking through the sports channels, come across like BBC 4 or something like that, you might accidentally see Joni Mitchell, who is a very well-known multi-instrumentalist, vocalist, and just a bit of a fucking all-round legend. But that's not what we're here to talk about. We are here to talk about guitar. And to be honest with you, I don't really understand it. I do now, a bit. No, what Joni Mitchell does. Because when you hear Joni Mitchell, you think, just a fucking guitar, isn't it? Just like, she does a lot of singing. You think the singing's the hard bit and the guitar's the easy bit. But that is not so. So I was talking to Alex at work. Now, Alex is my colleague, nay friend, my boss.
I'm getting so much help from my podcast thing.
He's more than friends. He's my boss.
Guitar friend. Help me with my podcast, friend. I hope he's the kind of lad that'll appreciate that kind of banter.
Can I just say, Michael, I mean this in a very nice way. You are in a particularly grating mood today.
At least I'm not beatboxing with my noise.
Oh yeah. Well, you did start.
I'm trying to listen to your pick so I can.
So look,
find holes in it.
So I can understand it.
I listened to songs like Big Yellow Taxi and Coyote, and I thought, well, that's very nice. It's rather good. But it's probably some of the greatest folk music I've ever listened to. But I didn't really understand what was going on behind the scenes, and Alex Briand, my boss, nay friend, nay boss, is part of the band Bladeck, and also executive producer, in fact, of the hit true crime podcast Red Handed, Listener's Choice winners, 3rd time in a row. Ice in the fucking veins, which I shouted like 3 times last night and no one got the reference.
I don't get the reference either.
Have you not seen that Pie Face clip where he's like, "Ice in fucking veins, you've been outplayed, you cunt."
No.
Oh mate, I'm gonna send it right now. It's so worth it. So chaotic.
I'm gonna watch it again, just see if I can get the joke.
You can't. You are the joke, right?
This is fucking rocking.
Right, look. Christ, can I just get on my pick?
Yeah, I would love you to get on with your pick.
Friend of the show, Alex Briand of Bladeck, told me that most guitarists, nay, 99% of guitarists, play in the tuning E-A-D-G-B-E, or HADGB, as I call it. Now,
I only played drop D after I discovered drop D.
Yeah, unless you really like Nirvana, you play in drop D. That's like how it goes normally.
So from jazz to blues to rock and roll, that to my knowledge is kind of the default. And then in folk, some people do open tuning, and if you like Nirvana, you might do open tuning as well.
No, that's drop D. Sorry.
Drop D, you might do drop D. I don't understand what that means. Look, anyway, in apparently open tuning means that you get like a deeper sound because some of the strings don't need to be fingered. When you play them, it makes a chord naturally, which means that you can kind of create your own backing kind of. And that's obviously really cool. But most people only learn one. They learn like one open tuning that sounds good to them, and that's just how they play. For instance, Bob Dylan recorded Blood on the Tracks in open D. There are a few more common ones, open G, and also D-A-D-G-A-D, which is Dadgad.
Dadgad, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Dadgad.
I know Dadgad.
And the way Alex described it to me is this, is 99% of guitarists stick to ADGB, or A-E-D-G-B-E.
Standard tuning, yeah.
And the 1% that don't, 99% of them play open D, open G, or Dadgad-ish. Mm-hmm. There's a couple of others, but that's the majority.
Drop D, yeah, like drop D is like everyone who, if you like metal or like heavy rock, that's where you go to, drop D.
But not Joni fucking Mitchell. Because Joni Mitchell created a new tuning for every single one of her songs. She created hundreds of her own tunings from scratch and would relearn everything else for every single song because she wanted that backing sound exactly how she wanted it. So the reason like some artists might play, they have like, especially in folk, have like a very, what's the word? A very noticeable sound. Like you're like, oh, that's fucking Bob Dylan. It's because he's playing it all on the same open chord. So half of every single stroke sounds exactly the fucking same.
Mm-hmm.
Like literally half of every single strum is the 3 same open chords. Yeah. But every single song of every single stroke he's ever fucking played, 3 of those notes are exactly the same. Joni Mitchell did
the same song over and over.
Joni Mitchell did the exact opposite of that. She would have those 3 strings at the bottom that would play a different thing, like would play an open chord, but would be completely different for every single fucking song. And I just think, from a technical perspective, that's insane. I'm not going to argue that her fucking songs are as impactful as Led Zeppelin or Cream or fucking any of that, or even that she could. Yeah, she couldn't. She definitely couldn't. Like she 100% could not. She couldn't, right? But I just think to go to the effort of relearning how to play the guitar, and obviously it's not from scratch because like there are things that are applicable over and over again, and like the more you do it, the quicker you're going to learn to like relearn this open tuning and like these new ways of tuning your guitar. But she has played in tunings that no one played before and no one's done since. The only time people use them is to cover her songs. Like because they can't be bothered. Because it is worthwhile, and people could record a whole album in one of our open tunings, but they can't because they're like, oh, well, I learned fucking Dadgad, and that's it. I'm just going to do that. I can't be bothered. And I just think, like, to put that much effort in is kind of goated. Like, she is not, and she's not even but to just be like, do you know what? I'm not going to just do Dadgad. I'm not just going to do Open G. I'm actually going to fucking reset every single fucking time. That's mental. And I think it's worth a shout, and it kind of goes under the radar. And like, I think, like, you know, because she's a folk singer, and I think because that doesn't have the like, or even the vibe, it's kind of like, fucking whatever. But I think that's incredible, and I think that's goat worthy. It's at least in with a shout. I at least wanted to talk about it because I think it's impressive, and I didn't want to spend my whole time wanking off about fucking whammy bars.
I know that is honestly, I fucking love that. I'm always enamored by like songs that like use different tunings. There's like, for example, a lot of like, it's like a particular type of genre, like Midwest emo math rock. Say that 5 times fast. They all use crazy tunings, and especially there's a couple that I really, really like. And whenever I play on my guitar, I'm like, wow, that sounds amazing. But I'm also like, I don't know what I'm doing. What the fuck? Yeah. I don't know how to play a scale on this. I have to like relearn the guitar. So the fact
I know what you mean.
Joni Mitchell has just made a different tuning for every song, like a unique tuning for every song, is like, holy fuck, that's a lot of work to like.
Because you have to just relearn every
song out of a brand new tuning. That is actually so impressive.
Because it's not just about the chords. If you then want to play any notes, it's going to be different to the other tuning.
Well, yeah, exactly. That's the thing, and that's also like what's incredible about it is like just the practical element of then doing like a live show. Like, what do you do there? Do you
just have to retune it every time? Like, swap guitar, probably.
Do you swap guitar, or do you use the same guitar and then try and remember how you do the tuning that you invented?
You just swap.
Like, it's just it's mental. Yeah. It's mental.
It's cool though. Well, like a song will finish, someone will come out and give her a new guitar.
You can just retune it though. People like pretty much most bands will do like tuning between songs because.
Yeah, but I imagine
she'll probably get slightly out of tune.
I imagine she's not there like, oh yeah, you know. Hang on, guys. Fuck, what was this? Drop D Jabber? I can't remember.
I'm sure she knows all the tunings to the songs she's made. She's like invented 60 of them or whatever.
Could get confusing though.
Yeah, well, I just think like the practical element of that is fucking mental. I just think that's
like not worth the. It's like
it almost feels like not worth it, but it is because she's an amazing artist. But also, it's funny because you don't listen to it and you're not like, oh, all of these are in a different tune. You're like, oh, great, Joni Mitchell, isn't it?
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
nice.
He is the opposite of, but also weirdly the same.
Yeah, I kind of. Yeah, let's just say
sure.
No, but it's like hard for the. It's but it's like
it's hard for the sake of being.
It's hard for the sake of hard, but is it worth it? I don't know. Like I quite like Joni Mitchell.
Yeah. I think it is because a different tuning definitely, even if like most people won't notice, it will make a different sound. You can't get the exact same sounds from different.
It definitely makes a big difference.
You can't get every sound from standard tuning, or at least it's very, very hard to get every sound you might want from standard tuning.
Yeah, because when I was learning guitar, I was mainly just learning songs to kind of teach myself the guitar. And every time I would find a song that I really like, I'm like, oh, I really want to play this. And they'd be like, oh, you have to tune it to this. I'd be like, for fuck's sake, I don't know how to do that tuning. So I'd just try and play it standard, but obviously it would sound shit. It wouldn't sound the same, even though I'm playing exactly the same thing. So I'm like, well, that's crap. And I just forget about that. And then I discovered drop D, and I was like, I'll just do everything in drop D. But yeah, to do like 100 tunings, fuck that noise.
Can I just interject by saying something that is completely irrelevant? We'll have to cut.
Yeah. Anyway, should I go for mine, sir?
I would love to hear your second pick, Mork.
Okay. Well, my second pick might actually ruffle a few more feathers. Oh. It's even more left field than my first pick, which I didn't think went down quite well. Instantly, you think, yes, you know, Oh, what have I written? I actually it doesn't make any sense.
Instantly.
Instantly.
Okay, no, I get it now. So it's a bit. He's not someone that you would instantly think, yes, top 6 guitarists. But when you kind of boil it down,
make some guesses.
You've got a shout. He's this guy's in for a shout, right? Who do you reckon it is?
The guitarist from the Muppet Band.
No.
Dave Grohl.
Dave Grohl.
He's a drummer.
He does guitar. Does guitar for
Anyway.
fighters.
Drum roll, please. It is Ed Sheeran.
No.
Yay. Why did I drum roll?
No.
Okay, no.
Can I rescind my drum
I'm
roll?
sorry. No, listen. As much as my missus thought I was being serious when I told her about my joke, and why can't he be? Why not Ed Sheeran? It was her exact response. That's obviously a fucking joke. Fuck Ed Sheeran.
No, Ed Sheeran's fine. We don't have to fuck him.
The top 6
He's like a
guitarists
nice
of all
guy.
time.
He's like a lovely guy.
Not fuck Ed Sheeran. He's fine.
He's not
Very talented man.
He's not top
guitarist
6.
of all time. He only plays
fuck
4
him.
chords.
Actually, fuck him.
No, listen.
Right.
He's a cunt.
No. In fact, the person I have picked is Mick Mars. Who? He's the guitarist for Motley Crue. Now you're probably thinking, what? Fucking Motley Crue? What are you on about? Like, well, remember, Motley Crue are a massive band. Massive. And I think a lot of their success was down to Mick. He came up with the name.
Wow.
He funded the band in the early years of them starting up. They wouldn't have even got off the ground without
What a great
Mick.
guitarist. Sorry.
If you keep being a cunt, right?
He came up with a name. He came up with a name.
He did come up with the
Guitarist of
name.
all time. You came up with Motley Crue, the name. You gave them a bunch of money.
That's not why I'm saying he's the greatest guitarist of all time. It is, I'm just giving
Okay.
Imagine,
Like
I'll give you a hard
context.
time, mate. I'll give you a hard time.
he's like, imagine we spell crew differently. And Morg's like, he's the greatest guitarist of all time because he spelled crew with a U.
And an
He
E.
invented a new word.
Joni
did it on
Mitchell
top.
invented 100 new open tuning.
He gave the name to Motley Crue.
He invented the word crew, but with a U and an umlaut.
Listen, right.
Okay, sorry.
Actually, stop. So,
I'm ready.
and he's obviously the guitar player for the band, which is an important instrument in a band. There is no band without a guitar. He is the keystone. He plays all the riffs, and he's the only guitarist in this band as well, which is
That's
good.
good to hear. Definitely the best guitarist then, right? Right?
Definitely.
Yeah, he's definitely the best guitarist in Motley Crue.
He's definitely the best.
That's the bare minimum. Let's go.
Yeah. Now, in the 80s and 90s, Motley Crue were maybe the biggest band in the world, both on and off the stage.
Really?
Yeah, Nikki Sixx.
Were they? No, sorry. I'm being serious because I don't listen to like a lot of that sort of.
Motley Crue
metal
were
rock,
fucking
whatever.
massive. They were like,
Who else
yeah, they
were
were like
big then?
battling Guns N' Roses and
Duran Duran?
fucking. They had like feuds. Well, I mean, like metal rock,
Within
whatever
like
band.
rock, right? Sure.
Yeah. Biggest rock band in the world. On and off the stage. Like off the stage, Nikki Sixx died and came back to life from heroin overdoses twice, which was the inspiration for the song Kickstart My Heart. Tommy Lee had a very public marriage to Pamela Anderson with their sex tape going public.
Oh.
Vince Neil also had a very public arrest when he crashed his car while drunk, resulting in the death of his friend and passenger.
Rock and roll.
It was fucking rock and roll. Listen to The Dirt. It's a fucking great book. All of this, as well as world tours and some of the biggest songs of those decades, makes you massive. But notice how one name didn't get mentioned in big controversy, and that's Mick. Now, I know that Mick did have like problems. He had relationship problems and substance problems, whatever, but nothing compared to the scale of those other degenerates.
Yeah.
Like, doesn't even come close. Like, I said just 3 lines. There's an 18-hour audiobook about all the fucking crazy shit those guys got up to. And the reason is because Mick is all about the music, man. That's his drug. Which is cheesy, I know. But
Also
like,
not
it really is true. Like,
Also, drugs are his drug.
Also drugs, also substances.
I don't think he did that much drug.
Didn't you say he had issues with substance abuse?
He was like probably an alcoholic.
Yeah,
But I don't think he was a massive drug addict. So if you compare it to Motley Crue, it's nothing. He's a pussy hole.
He's practically in the fucking church.
Exactly.
Except not the diddling part.
Yeah, obviously the good
part.
bit. If there is a good bit. Now, classics like Kickstart My Heart and especially Live Wire is just a pure headbanger. Like, I absolutely love that tune. Stick Live Wire on whenever you're in the car, and I guarantee, like, 3 minutes in when the guitar starts playing, you'll accidentally be doing 100 miles an hour, not realizing where you're going, just fucking rocking out. It's a fucking kicking tune. Like, people
like Freebird.
sometimes call like Motley Crue like glam rock. That is not glam rock to me. That is just an absolute banger. Live Wire is a certified banger, and a massive part of that is the guitar playing. Like, those songs fucking rock because Mick can absolutely shred the guitar, and he would play with so much noise and distortion sometimes that during the recording of the Dr. Feelgood album, Aerosmith were actually recording the album Pump in the same studio, and they kept coming like kind of next door or whatever and telling Mick to like shut the fuck up and turn off his music because the audio was bleeding through. Like, his distortion stuff was so, he had so many amps plugged in, it was bleeding through into their record.
Jesus.
Rock and roll,
and obviously Mick, yeah, he's a nice guy, but he's still a member of Motley Crue, so he just told Aerosmith to fuck off, basically. He's not doing it. And you can actually hear in the mix somewhere of that Aerosmith album, Mick's guitar. So if you like boil it down and listen to it properly, they couldn't scrub it off the record completely. You can hear Mick's guitar playing in the background.
Crazy.
Which is really cool. Yeah, I think that's really cool. But he's not just a rocker. He's not just a fucking whoa!
He also killed
Rock. He started out blues, pure chill. As a blues guitarist, he did many. He was in many blues bands in his early years before he went into rock, and he started off as a blues guitarist.
I feel like a lot of guitarists started off with blues.
Yeah, definitely, yeah. So he's a really, really talented and really underrated musician and guitarist, and I think that Mick is just a fucking beast. And during his entire life and his entire career, he has achieved that level of success as being the guitarist for Motley Crue, while also struggling with this thing called ankylosing spondylitis, which is a chronic inflammatory form of arthritis that mainly affects your spine and pelvis. Ooh. And he was diagnosed with it when he was 17 years old. And it increasingly impaired his movement and caused him like insane pain every day for his entire life. It never goes away. There is no cure.
Wow.
And it caused his spine to actually freeze and squash itself. So he's like inches shorter than he was like even like 10 years ago, and then 10 years on that, like he's just basically being crushed by his body.
And that wasn't because he went down a Butland slide with some like pennies in his pocket.
No.
Are you sure about that? We're definitely sure about that. He's my mate's dad's uncle's girlfriend's wife.
He actually knows him, right? And he found the super lube, mate, and he went down.
Maybe
so
Mick
fast.
Mars is the geezer from the Butlins.
The guy from Butland.
Legend. But no, seriously, he is actually being
so
squashed.
rich. Because he was so rich from Motley Crue, he had so many coins.
He was going to go to the arcades, and his mate was like, go down the fucking slide first. He's like, all right then.
He broke the sound barrier on the way down.
Just got crushed.
Oh, it's just so stupid.
Oh, I feel bad because my next line is he was in so much pain all the time that he couldn't walk, he couldn't move his head left and right to drive a car.
Wow.
And we're just taking the piss.
Jesus Christ.
Mate, you've got to watch Butlands, mate. It's fucking...
Yet, all of that, imagine all that pain you're in, all that going on in your body.
I'll try.
He was still the guitarist for Motley Crue. One of, if not the most intense bands of all time because of their lifestyle. Like, not just playing, like on stage, they'd be fucking rocking out, going crazy, but then they'd get off stage and they'd just do drugs all night and go fucking mental and do all this crazy shit and smash up hotel rooms and snort lines of ants with Ozzy Osbourne while he's in a dress on the side of the pool, and Mick Mars is like, his body's like imploding while doing that for 42 years and still rocking out every single night. It's fucking mental to like have those conditions and be in that band. And he's just a really hard done by guy. Like, he's really underappreciated. Motley Crue get fucking memed all the time, and I actually think loads of their songs are sick, and mainly I listen to them for the guitar. And like this year, he's actually being sued. No, he is actually suing Motley Crue after he retired from touring due to his poor health, because the guy's fucking 71 and his bones are like
He's
twisting
71?
and breaking He's 71 now, yeah.
God, I didn't realise they were that old.
So he's been playing for 42 years in Motley Crue, and he's gone, I can't fucking take it anymore. My body just won't do it. Like, I'm an old man. I don't need to do this shit anymore, basically. I don't care about money, whatever. And Motley Crue were just like, yeah, whatever. So they just fucking didn't give a shit, and they were just short of cash. So they forced him out of the band and said, yeah, fine. And they replaced him the next day. The day he announced his retirement, the next day they said, here's our new guitarist. And they then cut all of Mick's royalties to 7.5%.
What?
Bearing in mind, he wrote a lot of the songs. He's the main guitarist. Without him, they wouldn't have had his guitar playing. He's a very unique style. And he came up with a name. It's like 7.5%. What the fuck are you talking about?
What's
they just wanted him gone.
Name? What's unique about his guitar playing?
It was just like at a time where he would like stack multiple amps up together and use like a lot of distortion, but with his like jazzy, he would play like just a lot of clean riffs. That's why it gets like, they're a little bit glam metally, glam rocky. Some of it's quite slow paced and just very chord progression-y, but with a lot of distortion and kind of ampage. And then he would bring it up for like a bit of a solo, like Live Wire, and just really play hard. Right. He's not doing the fucking tapping. It's no, but it's just very distortion-y, but rhythm at this kind of same time, because they don't have a rhythm guitar. It's just one guitar that's playing, so he's playing kind of rhythm and lead all at the same time.
Sure, yeah.
Because they only have like a bassist. It's just a bass, guitar, drums, and vocalist with Motley Crue. But yeah, like they fucked him right over, which is fucking crazy because they owe him so much. Like that band, Motley Crue, would not be as big as it was without Mick Mars. Like, he's the forgotten member of Motley Crue. Everyone talks about Nicky Sixx and fucking Tommy Lee. No one gives a shit about Mick Mars. But he's the fucking glue that held that band together. They wouldn't be.
But actually,
but actually good. Like I love the band, and I do like all the guys. Like, you know, but Nicky Sixx and Tommy Lee, and they are kind of fucking assholes in a way. They are, but Mick's not. He's a fucking great guy, I think, and they completely fucked him over. And I was like umming and ahhing about whether I should pick him. Like, maybe he's not good enough. I actually was going to mention him as one of my like honorable mentions, but then as I was writing about it, I was like, no, you know what? Fuck that. I'm picking Mick Mars because I think Motley Crue is a massive band, and if you're the guitarist of Motley Crue, you've got to be pretty fucking good. So let's go Mick. Pick Mick Mars.
Fair enough. I do think that's a good bet. The trouble is I haven't listened to enough Motley Crue to know.
Just listen to Live Wire. Just listen to Live Wire now. Quickly listen to the guitar. You'll be like, yeah, that's a fucking tune.
Okay, I'll listen to
Live Wire, cause I'm alive, down, 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 Live Wire.
Ice in the fucking vein.
Long run free.
Live Wire. Live Wire. I don't know if it's a solo in this song particularly.
Do you know what I found recently? Not recently, but do you know what I found? Do you know how like every song, like every pop song since like the 50s or 60s till like the noughties or 90s? No, I'd say like every pop song from the 60s and 90s had a guitar solo in it.
Yes.
Like every song. That's been completely replaced with the rap verse. Have you ever noticed that? How like now every pop song has the rap verse in it. Well, not
every Coldplay song is featuring fucking so and so, and you're like, who's this random rapper I've never heard of that?
Because something big popular in. Yeah. It's the guitar solo has been replaced by the rapper.
Rap. Most, like 90% of rappers nowadays are featured artists, so they don't even have albums.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Like one verse wonders.
2 Chainz. He just features on loads of stuff. Has 2 Chainz got an album? I think he might have an album. I think it might be called 2 Chainz.
Let's be real, like.
Oh, I like 2 Chainz. He's a lovable.
But he is shit. But yeah, anyway, Mick Mars. There you go. Mars. I love him.
Shit, we've still got to do fucking Vinny's one.
Yeah, we got one more left.
Just top it off. just to top it off, I did see Mick Mars place number 10 on one of the top 10 guitarists of all time lists that I heard, and that I looked at, and I was like, you know what? There you go. If they say Mick Mars, I'm saying fucking Mick Mars too.
One of them said top 10.
Okay, right.
That's good enough for me. No, you guys hadn't even heard of who he was. You're supposed to be like music nerds.
I don't really like rock music from the 80s. I really like rock music from the 70s and the 60s and the 90s, but for some reason I think it's just like glam rock and power rock. I find
glam rock difficult. I find like
Kickstart My Heart was in.
I thought you liked Def
90s.
Leppard.
Me?
Yeah, you wanted to see Def Leppard with me that one time.
I want to see Steel Panther.
Sorry, Steel Panther. They're all the same band.
Yeah, but Steel Panther's like a meme. Steel Panther's like a.
They are too fair.
Different.
Yeah,
they're a meme. Whereas like I find like Guns N' Roses so. Such a letdown. Like the whole image of the band, you think it's going to be like the grungiest. Like I remember, this is what blew my mind was like, and this is exactly what happened. But you know, the film thing happened with me with Nirvana, where I thought Nirvana were going to be like Guns N' Roses. So I'd always listen to Guns N' Roses and be like, well, this is shit. They look like they're fucking hardcore as shit.
They're all skulls and stuff.
But their songs are just so generic and like stadium-y. And then I listened to Nirvana, who just look like a bunch of regular guys, and it's all fucking really dark and like, I'm going to kill myself. And I was like, oh, this is way cooler.
Well, you'll be happy to. Is it Axl?
Suicide.
Who's the lead singer for Guns N' Roses? Is it Axl Rose?
Axl Rose, absolute knobhead.
Yeah. Well, Vince Neil, the lead singer from Motley Crue, was going to kick the shit out of him one day, and Axl Rose pussied out. And in the book, Vince Neil's quoted as saying, "Axl Rose been ducking me for 10 years. I'll still kick your fucking head in right now if you want to go motherfucker like this."
I mean,
so they hate each other.
I have to say, if there's one thing that I would say for Axl Rose, it's Axl Rose peak Guns N' Roses in the 90s. Probably one of the most attractive men who's ever lived. Unbelievable.
Yeah, but Vince Neil will kick his head in.
Unbelievable.
Maybe not now. Vince Neil's about 35 stone, but...
But it's interesting what you said about Motley Crue, like fucking him over, because it always...
Really bad, yeah. They fuck over everyone they meet there. They're such arseholes.
But that's the thing, is sometimes when you get like a group of people who are arseholes and you think they're going to be like arseholes, but they're in it together, they're like thieves' honour, but they're not. If you're arseholes, you're arseholes. That's the thing, like, I'm always shocked by how shocked people are. I'm like, but these people are cunts. Like they've always been cunts.
Rock and roll is very cuntish, like by nature.
Yeah.
So
that one thing, you think like, yeah, we're cunts, but we're like cunts as a group versus the world.
Like a brotherhood, but it's not like that.
No, Motley Crue are the worst brotherhood ever in history. Like, all this horrible shit happened, and they just didn't give a fuck about any of them. Like, when Vince Neil killed their mate, he went to prison and stuff, and so they just kicked him out of the band straight away and just deleted his number and didn't even ring him and just fucking forgot about him. And then he came out and he was like, "Guys, fucking help me!" Like, he was trying to be sober and do this, and they were like, "Oh, fuck off, mate!" And they were just shooting up heroin, like, "Oh, no one cares about you, mate." Basically, they just fucked him over.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
They couldn't give a shit about any of them. But yeah,
anyway.
There you go, Vinny.
Anyway,
bring us home.
Right? Yeah, almost two hours into this podcast.
Yeah, well, we've worked something out. Top 6 doesn't work.
It does work.
We just need
to be a bit quicker with
shorter pitches.
Yeah.
And very chatty today as well. It's been a very chatty.
Yeah.
Got a lot of
It was always going to be an experiment in this first one. It doesn't really matter.
Well, there was like a 30-minute passionate chat before this podcast even began. I think you guys I think we're all in for a big chat today.
Yeah.
Plus, I could talk about guitar stuff for fucking years, and I love that.
That's it. Yeah.
But yeah, I'll say my last pick. So last time, I went for Wes Montgomery. He's a jazz musician, not what you'd normally see on the list of greatest guitarists of all time. And I don't even think I saw him or any other jazz guitarist on the Rolling Stone Top 100, which kind of shows how rock-centric Rolling Stone are, obviously.
Yeah.
But for this one, I'm going to go with a much more standard pick, one that definitely shows up a lot on all of these lists, and for very good reason. So it is genuinely probably impossible to find a rock guitarist from the 60s or 50s or even the 70s who wasn't directly inspired or influenced by Chuck Berry. The Beach Boys, Rolling Stones, and the Beatles all had their songs in their discographies that were literally just complete covers of Chuck Berry songs. And Keith Richards... Marty McFly, yeah, exactly. Keith Richards even once said, quote, "It's very difficult for me to talk about Chuck Berry because I lifted every lick he ever played. This is the man who started it all," end quote.
That's crazy to admit that as like being Keith Richards, to be like, yo, I literally stole every tune I've ever done from this other fella.
Yeah, Chuck Berry was like extremely influential to rock and roll. He basically pretty much invented rock and roll. I might get into it a bit later. But anyway, Chuck Berry, he was born in St. Louis, Missouri. Charles Edward Anderson Berry was his full name, or Chuck Berry, was the youngest child in his family. He grew up in a black middle-class area that was so deeply segregated from the other white areas that he didn't see a white person until he was 3 years old. And in fact, it's kind of a funny story, because the first time he saw white people, there were firefighters like putting out a burning house in his neighborhood or near his neighborhood, and he was like, he went to his dad and was like, "Why that? Like, what are they white because they're so terrified of the fire? Like, are they just shocked from like the fire?" And then he was like, "Nope, those are just white people."
That's crazy.
That's nuts.
It was so segregated. It's unbelievable to believe, but yeah. But due to his, he was middle class, so due to his pretty comfortable upbringing, he could pursue music from a young age, and he did. He gave his first live performance in high school in 1941, and 3 years later, he would be convicted for armed robbery and sent to prison.
What? That's a bit spicy.
Yeah, I know, right? But in prison, the music carried on. Yeah. He formed a singing quartet that was so popular, it was actually allowed to perform outside of the prison. And then another 3 years he's in prison, but then he gets released on his 21st birthday in 1947. And over the next few years, Chuck got married, would play at local clubs in St. Louis for some extra cash. And at this point, he'd been playing mostly just the blues, and would even sort of borrow a lot of riffs and kind of showmanship techniques from an older blues musician by the name of T-Bone Walker. Now, in 1955, he was on a road trip to Chicago for, I think, touring or whatever. I think what it was is his band would fly to these places, but he was so deathly afraid of flying, he would just drive to these places, be like, "I ain't fucking getting one of those flying fuckers. Yeah. I don't know what's going to happen to me." But anyway,
one of those flying fuckers.
On a road trip to Chicago, he met with the extremely legendary and iconic blues artist Muddy Waters, who mentioned to Chuck that he should go to Chess Records and have a little meeting with him, because he saw something in Chuck. He was like, "You're a good guitarist. You could do something. You could have a career here." So Chuck Berry took his advice and paid them a visit, where in a meeting, he played his adaptation of an old country song called Ida Red, but it was basically just a rock and roll, super fast rock and roll version of it. This was like before rock and roll was really a thing. And his version was called Maybelline, and it was such a success. Or
maybe it's Maybelline.
Yeah, that's it. No, it's not it. His version was called Maybelline, and the people in the meeting were so impressed that on the spot they offered him a record deal just off that one song alone. Yeah.
Because I just never heard, like I said, I guess if rock's not really been a thing, they'd be like, "What the fuck is that?" Like, "Yeah, you can come on."
Well, yeah, I'm going to get into this. So, although most music historians do believe he didn't necessarily technically invent rock and roll, the first rock and roll song was actually a song called Rocket 88 in 1951, which I think is also maybe the first song to ever use distorted guitars.
Right, okay.
Well, Maybelline in 1955 is still considered like a pioneering track.
One of the,
and Rolling Stone magazine did write about Maybelline saying, quote, "Rock and roll guitar starts here," end quote. And as we discussed before, they are the rock and roll people, so they probably know things.
I feel like sometimes the first isn't quite the first thing. It's not quite the final version of the actual first thing. That's the kind of the first thing.
People don't hear it as much. It's not as popular. But then Maybelline comes out, and that's a hit. People love it. Everyone's like, "What is this thing? I've maybe never heard this, or I kind of heard this before. But this is like really good." Well, yeah, Maybelline sold over 1 million copies and reached number 1 on the Billboard's Rhythm and Blues chart. And after that, Chuck Berry just went from strength to strength, releasing songs like Roll Over Beethoven in 56, and of course, the iconic Johnny Be Good in 58. Great song.
That is a fucking tune. Go, Johnny, go. I do prefer Marty McFly's version, if I'm being brutally honest.
Is it because he's white, you racist? Anyway.
No. It's because he like comes back from the grave to like stand up where he's like, go, Johnny, go. You know, that's it. Because like the timeline's been like corrected. He's not going to die. So he like zooms back up again. He starts playing.
My favourite Chuck Berry song is definitely You Never Can Sailor. The old folks, yo, you never can tell. I just love it.
I only know one Chuck Berry song.
That's a great song, yeah. But yeah, he combined the flashy showmanship of T-Bone Walker doing like just dance moves on stage while he played over-the-top guitar solos, while he would just eat up the scenery and shred like no one had ever shredded before. Like, this is all pretty much brand new. Like, guitar solos weren't really a thing other than like you played in jazz and it was your turn to do the solo. Like, everyone had a solo in jazz, so like that was nothing special. But these are like songs where they was like the guitar was forefront, it was center, it was loud in your face, it was bowdy bowdy bowdy. You know, it was like crazy doing shit, and people would just go nuts for it.
Fucking bending strings.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely.
Dancing around the fucking like stage, hopping on one foot,
doing all these dance moves as well, which obviously is just such a thing in pop. Like, for ever since
spin the guitar around.
Yeah, exactly. Like, without that, you wouldn't have like Elvis Presley. Like, he was doing the same thing, guitar solos, dancing on stage. You know, Michael Jackson without a guitar, he's still dancing on stage and shit. But
what's his name? James Brown. Wow, I feel good.
James Brown, he big showmanship. Like, part of the thing is he's amazing live. Like.
When you hear that James Brown's like a monster and he's so horrible to all his crew for not trying hard enough, but then you look at him dance and you're like, God, it must be annoying. Like, he's there, like he'll do like a full pirouette, the split, kick his mic stand, catch it on the way back up, and then his backing dancers can't even like clap in time. You're like, no wonder he was so angry. Just like,
it's like being the best football player on the team, and like everyone's kind of shit, but you can't get too angry at them.
Yeah,
but at the same time, you're like, for fuck's sake.
But anyway, Chuck's onstage and performing style would just become synonymous with rock and roll. He would slow down his releases in the 60s and never quite hit the same massive stardom he did in the late 50s, although a lot of good songs came out of the 60s, like You Never Can Tell, for example. That's from the 60s. And although his guitar playing style would live on through the British invasion bands, who were all brought up on Chuck Berry's music, Chuck Berry actually just didn't ever have an actual number one single to hit, like a number one hit single to his name.
What? Johnny Be Good didn't go straight to the fucking top?
No.
Did they not even see
on the Rhythm
Back
and
to the
Blues? On the Rhythm and Blues charts, he would, but not on the main Billboard.
Yeah. Oh, I see, on the main. Yeah. It wasn't poppy enough.
Well, I
wasn't
honestly, I could maybe say it's probably because he was maybe a black musician, and they were like, it's black music.
Fucking racist cunts.
I could almost guarantee that's probably why. But he did get his number one hit single in 1972. This is basically past his prime. The song My Ding-a-Ling, which you might have heard before.
What?
I doubt it.
That was his first number one.
A novelty song about masturbation.
No, I was going to say, is that about his cock?
Yep.
No, it's not.
My ding-a-ling, my ding-a-ling, I want you to play with my ding-a-ling. Yeah, that was his first number one hit, and that only. Yeah.
Oh no, that's worse than not having any.
But
I
so
really thought you
weird.
were going to say it was when he did something with John Lennon, because him and John Lennon got on really well. Didn't
Yeah, they obviously John Lennon like grew up on his music, so he was like, he is my hero.
Have you seen that video?
They're loving it. I'm just
I was
listening
gonna
to
say-
My Ding-a-ling. The crowd's going fucking crazy.
I know, it was huge.
He's
for
not even
some
singing the
reason.
songs. They're just going, My Ding-a-ling!
Yeah.
It's have you seen that video of John Lennon and
The Yoko,
fucking Chuck Berry,
plastic
and Yoko
band.
starts screaming, and
Yeah,
then
they
Yoko's
just- the guy's like-
and she just like unplugs her mic.
Someone mutes her mic. Yeah,
Someone
it's
mute-
so funny.
yeah. Yeah, because Chuck Berry's like, what the fuck was that?
You
She's
can
like,
hear him just like they're singing like Memphis, DC or whatever, and then he just sort of go, oh, and she's going, Someone
Fucking
literally mutes her
Yoko.
mic at some point and just like, what?
Yeah.
Because then she's still going and you can't hear her.
Yeah.
Like, you can kind of see Chuck Berry, like, there's a glint in his eye where he's like,
I appreciate Yoko Ono for being very experimental and being she's very renowned for being innovative and very experimental when no one else was, and she inspired loads of people and all that great stuff. But you don't just do goat noises over a rock and roll song. Like, I'm sorry, there's a time and a place, honey, and this is
doesn't matter how experimental you are. Doing armpit farts over anything is not acceptable. Oh, but it's never been done before. Nobody cares.
Also, I just don't like anything she does. I accept that it might be groundbreaking, but I just
I don't
enjoy
like it, but like,
Yeah.
I respect its experimentation. I respect
That's
it.
fair.
But anyway, despite all of that, Chuck Berry's contribution to rock and roll guitar playing it's kind of immeasurable. He isn't known as the father of rock and roll for nothing, and he would be later indicted. That's not the right word. He would later be the first induction.
Inducted.
He would later be the first induction to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 1986 and was cited as
Really?
having, quote, laid the groundwork for not only a rock and roll sound, but a rock and roll stance. End quote.
Yo, this dude, he basically invented the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And nowadays, I would be flabbergasted if Dwayne The Rock Johnson's not in the fucking Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. It's become a joke. Do you know what I mean? Like everyone's in there. Fucking Eminem's in there. It's not rock and roll.
Eminem's
It's just become a Hall of Fame of music. Like fucking Taylor Swift's probably on there, right? But the fact that he could have kickstarted that as like back then they didn't have a reference. It hadn't got to a point of ridiculousness. It could have only been taken seriously. To have started that is pretty cool, pretty impressive.
But yeah, that's Chuck Berry. And I think it's time. Should we start ranking them or whatever? Like, start thinking of a
How
top
are we going to
three?
do this? Is it going to be one each? Are we going to have one each?
What do you mean?
But like one of yours, one of Seb's, one of mine. That's the top three.
Well, we could have like two of someone's and then none of other people's.
Oh yeah. No,
Moxley
it's like
leaving. Moxley, he's left the building.
You don't need me now. I can just clock off.
no.
You don't need me.
Right, what if we did it like this? We all have to nominate someone for the top three,
That isn't.
but it can't be our own pick.
Can we nominate like more than one, or is it just the one?
No, we'll do it like a round
the
robin.
top
So
three.
let's say
everyone nominates
until they're all
one.
eliminated.
What?
But it can't be our own.
No, what?
Yeah.
Well, no,
So like I said, so
'cause we're
I
doing
would
a
say
top-
like if I had to pick somebody to be the top three straight up,
Yeah.
first person I would pick, if not my own, would be probably Chuck Berry.
Well, exactly. So he's in the top three then.
Huh?
Is that how this is working? Okay, I can down for this.
So then he's in the top three. And then I say one, and then Vinny says one, and then we got the top three, and then we try and work out what order we think that's in.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Chuck
I think
Berry. I'm
that's
going
right.
to say Chuck Berry straight up.
Would you have any reason for that, or you just?
The cunt invented rock and roll. Like, come on.
Yeah, it's kind of fair
He's
enough.
the first geezer in the fucking Hall of Fame. Like, and rock and roll is all
guitar
about the
solos
guitar.
and stuff.
Do you know what I mean? Johnny B. Good, like, it is a bit of a joke, but like Back to the Future is one of my favorite films of all time, and that guitar scene is probably the pinnacle moment of that film, and it's all because of that song. And that song, it's because that song's such a fucking banger. It's one of the greatest movies of all time with one of the greatest songs of all time in that. Of course, it's going to be fucking Chuck Berry.
What I think is so funny about that scene, rewatching it now, is that like when he starts playing Johnny Be Good and everyone's going nuts and people are dancing by like doing these crazy gymnastic shit, acrobatic shit. It's like, aren't they all supposed to be like 16 years old, like students, like these kids? Like, what is going on? Why are they all acrobats? Also, it's great though. I love it.
It's crazy. Yeah, that's why it's great. Yeah. So there we go. Well, I guess there's Chuck Berry. I didn't quite understand the rules, but he's in.
Right, I'll pick next. So,
but you can just pick Vinny again, and then Vinny can just pick you, and then no one's picking fucking Ed Sheeran.
Well, look. Here's the thing. I'm definitely not picking what's his name from Motley Crue because it's just not my style. However, I was really anti Dragon Force until I watched a clip and I was like, it's not great guitar in the way that you think of great guitar, but it is great guitar in its own way.
It's very like fast and technical.
It's very technical.
Flashy.
Can I bring myself to nominate the bloke from Dragon Force?
You've got to weigh it.
Second best
this is quite easy.
The second best.
No, he's the best guitarist. But I think that this is a good model because you can't choose yourself, so you can only choose between yours and Vinny's other pick. So that's your choice. You only have to boil it down to that. You don't have to even choose anything else. This is why I quite like this like format of
so it's basically this guy. It's the guy that goes versus. Where's Montgomery?
The Jazz Cat.
Lovely dudes. Everyone said he was always had a beam on. Was always smiling.
Herman Lee, mate, he's really sound as well.
Sadly died of a heart attack in like 1966 or 68 as well. Yeah, music career cut short. But
do you know what? I'm throwing cautions to the wind. I'm going to throw cautions to the wind. And I know that Alex Briand, if he's got this far, is going to fucking hate me. But I am going to nominate... Herman Lee.
Yes!
Because it's in its own way. It's in its own way.
So I wanted to pick Jimmy Page, but I don't want 3 rock guitarists in the top 3. It's just boring.
It doesn't. It can be.
All right, it's just 3 rock guitarists in the top 3. It's Jimmy Page. It's a bit boring, but we'll just do it.
If we're going to we've then got to order them.
We've then got to order them.
Dragon Force is at the bottom. I'm sorry, I'm not.
Yeah, Dragon Force is at the bottom. He's not even the top 100 guitarists of all time. Let's just put it out there.
But he deserves a shot. He's in his own way. He is in the top 3.
We've never done this quite objectively this show, so I feel like top 3 is going to there's always going to be like a Shrek in there. Do you know what I mean? He's the Shrek. Even though he's really good at guitar, but I think
he just didn't bring anything new to the table. That's the thing.
Yeah. Yeah, he's really good, but he's not
good at doing techniques and things people have already done, but he's just done it as well, but maybe a bit faster.
He's maybe brought that to a more popular audience, because I feel like even if you're not into speed metal, everyone's kind of heard of Dragon Force.
Yeah, just because of Guitar Hero 3, though. Literally just because of that game, because because it was super hard to play that one song. That's
why he's bottom. That's why he's bottom. Who's going middle? So it's now between. I feel like I can't really weigh on this because I'm in this race.
I think that
Jimmy Page versus Chuck Berry.
I can't see anybody above Chuck Berry. This is the thing. I just can't see anybody. If we'd done Go and it was just a Go episode, and he was suggested, we'd probably pick him.
I think we should say. Let's just. Because I don't think we haven't said it at all, but Jimi Hendrix is probably the best guitarist of all time. Let's just say it. But we haven't. None of us picked him because
we can't do double jeopardy.
Because we've already talked about Jimi Hendrix in a previous episode.
Does this mean I can't ever talk about Gandalf again?
Stop talking about Gandalf.
What a relief that is.
Yeah, but I picked him for Great Magician. It didn't even work.
Has there ever been an episode in which you haven't talked about Gandalf at some point?
You did mention him earlier as well. That's the thing.
You actually did mention him earlier.
I like Gandalf.
He doesn't like you, though. Doesn't return your calls.
For me, it would probably go. I mean, if I was doing it personally, Herman Lee would be number one. But no, genuinely, it would be. I would have to put Chuck Berry as number one.
This is the most goats fucking list in the world. It's Chuck Berry.
I would have to put
fucking Jimmy Page. Great shout. And I don't know his name. The man from Dragon Force.
I do know his name.
That's the fucking top 3. That's what I'm going to say to people when I go back to work on Monday. They say,
his name is Herman Lee.
Some bloke called Herman who goes, blah, blah, blah. And also Jimmy Page and Chuck Berry. And people go, oh, what about Jimi Hendrix? And I'll say, oh, we couldn't do him because of a fucking technicality. So now the man from Dragon Force.
But when you show them the song, they'll do what you done. They'll be like, whoa, that's pretty sick, actually.
No, look, I agree. I think Jimmy Page would want you to say that he was below Chuck Berry. I think Chuck Berry is he's the godfather of it all. He changed guitar playing forever.
Fair.
And
I can't see anybody really beating. Maybe Jimi Hendrix, but if we're putting this in its own vacuum now, I can't see anybody beating Chuck Berry as like not only a wicked guitarist because he played sick,
but innovative, and he also
the innovation like is insane. Like what he done to change the world. Like if you look at the butterfly effect, if you took Chuck Berry out of the equation, you might never have Jimmy Page or Herman.
I don't think you would. I don't think you would. I actually don't think you would. So yeah, that's so true. And also, he paved that way for like, I'm going to do blues and then I'm going to do fucking rock and roll. Like that's that is like for a long time. That is like, that kind of is Led Zeppelin's whole thing. Is like,
that's the pathway to being a guitarist. Yeah. This is what Mick Mars did.
Yeah, exactly. So without him, we wouldn't have. And also,
Chuck Berry for.
I think the worst bit is like the best bit is I guess.
Morning,
I think
for the light.
I think Chuck Berry would probably quite like it. I think he'd be like, oh yeah, fuck, that's sick, isn't it?
He'd think it was sick.
Because I think that's also the thing is it's quite easy to like hero worship and put people on these pedestals as though they were doing something like mystical. But he was just fucking about. He was just having a good time, and he probably would look at those guys and be like,
My Ding-a-ling.
yeah, he wrote fucking My Ding-a-ling. You can't get too off on your high horse.
It's actually really funny because I think he died in, I want to say 2017, sometime around there. But
really?
he lived a pretty big life, to be fair, like a long life.
Oh, right. I thought he died in like the 80s for some reason, but yeah.
No. And he was asked about it, I think it was 2010, he was asked about like My Ding-a-ling, and he said like, oh yeah, it's like one of my favourite songs that I ever made, My Ding-a-ling. And it was what it was is because he actually always secretly wanted to be a comedian. And so he really liked the idea of making comedy songs, but
because he's just a funny lad, basically. Yeah,
he said he just loved making the audience laugh, but also he invented rock and roll, so that's what he's actually known for.
That's just fucking crazy. Yeah, Chuck Berry, you got to be number one, man. He's got to be number one.
Every one of his songs starts with a. They all start with some little guitar riff. It's so funny though. I love it.
Why not?
It's very.
Well, on that note,
I think that's a great top 3.
We're 2 hours and 10 minutes into this recording, and I've got to fucking edit it.
Just cut a bunch of shit, mate.
I was going to actually
do the VODs. I can do the video if you want. I've already put the notes down where we're definitely cutting.
I was actually going to ask. We got to cut this definitely. We're good.
On that note, that's been Goat's top 3 guitarists. I'm pretty fucking shattered after that beefy record. We might need to see if we can tinker around with it. But
polish around with the top 3, yeah.
As much, I liked this record very much. I enjoyed chatting shit with you.
I enjoyed chatting guitaring,
shit with and
same.
And I enjoyed shitting on Mork for his bad picks.
Me too.
They were not bad picks because one of them made the top 3. So,
that's because he didn't want to pick a jazz musician.
And also, Mick Mars was a good. Mick Mars was a good shout.
Yeah, he was. Kind of.
I don't know.
Anyway, let's fucking end this. I'm tired. I'm really hungry. I haven't eaten. All I've eaten today is a bottle of Huel and some beef jerky. That's where I'm at. So I'm quite hungry.
Yeah, I reckon. Get some food.
I would love some beef jerky right now, mate. Though, seriously.
Give you some beef jerky.
Anyway.
Right.
On that
cool.
point,
show next week.
All right.
It's Classic Goats next week, I believe.
Love you, bye.
Love you, bye.
Love you, bye.
Love you, bye.
Bye.